For fiscal year 26, which is the grant application cycle that we're in now, my agency, thanks to Governor Hochul and the New York State Legislature, will be giving out $81 million for arts and cultural organizations and individual artists, and additionally $80 million for capital funds. We're deep in panel meetings right now, so I have 7 panel meetings across my 2 discipline areas, many dozens of panelists reviewing hundreds of proposals. It's a lot of fun. And last year, so this current year where organizations are spending in fiscal 25, we had about the same amount to grant out in those categories, and that provided direct support to 509 individual artists, some of whom are in this room, and 1,807 organizations, many of which are also represented in this room. I wanted to report, last October I had the great good fortune to go to Puerto Rico to attend a conference, the NASA conference, the other NASA, which is the National Association of State Arts Agencies. I went wearing my arts ed hat because there's a network of arts ed managers at state arts agencies. There is no similar literary network. And I presented on the application overhaul that we did a couple of years ago, to great interest from many of the other states. My colleagues were even hounded after I left, and they came, tell us more about what you did. So it's kind of old news for you guys because you've been doing our new application for a couple of years, but I do want to emphasize what some of the impacts have been for literature. There have been other forces at play too, but the news is good if you look at certain numbers. So for example, fiscal year 21 funding for literature from my agency, the before times, was 1.4 million. Fiscal year 25 funding for literature was 3.6 million. The grant sizes in fiscal 21 were between 2,500 and 40,000. The grant sizes in fiscal 25 were between 10,000 and 49,500. I do encourage you to find more good stories because they're there in our data, which is publicly accessible on our website. If you go to look up grants, you can search by region, by discipline. You can crunch all kinds of numbers and see really good news stories. Among those big changes, I want to remind you all, came an increased focus on supporting individual artists. So for literature, that meant that in addition to supporting literary translators, we could support poets, fiction writers, graphic fiction, creative nonfiction, experimental literary forms. So individuals can get grants of $10,000 for a specific project. So just a reminder that that's how you as organizations can support writers that are in your orbit. You can sponsor because they can't apply directly. It can't be a person on your staff or board, but it can be someone that you're doing something with. So if you're publishing them, if you're presenting them, or it could just be a writer who you happen to want to support. Other little updates, capital guidelines were just released, and there's a webinar this Thursday. So I didn't even tally or ask my colleague to tally how much money has been given to literary organizations through our capital funds, but that is another source of support. We recently wrapped up a grant and project that we received funds for. We're not usually on the receiving end. I'm not usually writing applications, but it was a good experience for me. We were one of 9 states to be really lucky to get this creative aging grant through the E.A. Michelson Foundation. And creative aging, if you don't know, is hands-on arts instruction for older adults. Several literary organizations were part of our statewide cohort, and it's something that we do, even though the grant has run out, there's not a similar opportunity coming down the pike. We do want to continue to support this. It's a great opportunity for partnership because it's cross-sector. You know, we had aging organizations as well as arts organizations in this, and it's just one way to expand horizons. We're also supporting the New York City Arts and Ed Roundtable as a partner in their 4th year of offering a teaching artist mentorship program. So another way for if you as organizations have writers who teach in your orbit, please encourage them to apply for this fantastic, really tailored mentorship opportunity. And I'll wrap up with a couple of the evergreens. On the topic of working smarter, not harder, please make sure you call me or set up an appointment with me to get the panel comments after you receive your decision. It's great to hear lots of compliments and valentines and good news about what your peers thought about your work, as well as any critical feedback that could help you, be better. So that is a resource you should take advantage of, because we do offer that, and you don't have to submit a Freedom of Information request to get it. And then something else that I mentioned to a couple people just in conversations at this convening is remember to write to your elected officials within New York State and thank them for the funding that you get from NYSCA. Invite them to your things. Make sure that you are on their radar as a constituent, and let the world know that you are an organization that gets public funds and how much you shine, because regardless of all the challenges that everyone's having, you're all examples of organizations that are doing amazing things with public funds, and shout that from the rooftop, but especially to your electeds. And then the last one, this is not exactly, I know I said work smarter, not harder. This is, if you want to work harder, you can be a panelist. We always need panelists, or you can nominate someone to be a panelist. It's really interesting, you do learn a lot. Cultural jury duty, some people call it, but we always need more, so please keep your thinking hat on about that one. And thank you so much for what you do.